and have to familiarize them on site. Could you familiarize somebody with an offshore platform before they got there? So PaleBlue built a digital twin of the site, and then essentially employees could come in and onboard to the site in VR onshore. And this was a complete kind of 3D rendering, you know, absolutely accurate. Not essentially, obviously, every single detail because the model would just be too cumbersome. But you can navigate through, you know, all the different decks of the site, familiarize yourself with, you know, procedures and layout of the site. It was very well received. I'm not sure, maybe Felix, you have some more to add on that.
No, that's a great take. So this was taking the facility straight from the CAD model. Again, there's no remodeling being done. It's the facility as is, being just imported into the simulation. So that really saved them a lot of time. And in the end, they have dedicated, I think, a couple of rooms in their office building so that people who would be traveling offshore to this facility could come in and familiarize and get to know the escape routes and such. So that was this one. Yeah, you want to take the next part, Scott?
Sure. So this was again an idea of, so again, VR has some huge advantages, but I think as even somebody in the audience said, it can be a little bit difficult. It's not like every employee has a VR headset. You know, so they have to kind of go to a particular location and get set up for this and so on. So we were looking at ways to scale this to a larger number of users at the organization. And so the idea was to build essentially a screen-based training program that solved one of their core problems, which was people on the rig not getting the proper work authorization for work. So we built, you know, this is kind of one of the early generations of what later became actually a lot of our screen-based courses, but it's a highly gamified, essentially, you know, technically third person, but you're essentially that avatar walking around and checking all of the facilities for leaks. You check the valves, you end up finding a leak actually in one of the valves, but now you've got to then go forward and figure out what do you need to do, because again, in these things, you don't want to just start work on one of these projects. You have to make sure that you know, everybody knows about this project and that it's approved for you to do the work. So it literally walked you through the process, which is again a very typically dry process of filing for work permit, but you're doing it in the context of kind of a journey or an adventure, a first-person kind of role-playing game almost of how you kind of use the system. Maybe Felix, you have more to add?
I'll just tell about the second part of the same delivery, which was there are different ways of how you can visualize a certain facility to the employees. And in the first screen-based modules that we've seen, in the first module that we've seen, it was kind of a third-person perspective. We're looking at ourselves from the side, navigating around. That works really well for procedure training. But we also have a way of bringing complex 3D facilities to life on a screen format. When you don't have VR, you don't want to use VR, and you want to really distribute it throughout your entire workforce, it's possible to still access large facilities in a screen-based format. And the way we have enabled that is to use essentially the same method as Google Street View is doing. So we've taken a very large facility and we've baked it into a number of 360 panoramas that are navigatable throughout. So that makes it accessible, again, on any browser, buildable, possible to build into any LMS, learning management system, e-learning. And still, even with this, it's not just images. We can superimpose characters, interactions, work processes on top of this. So essentially, you're in a 3D living and breathing world, and you are able to do operations. Actually, this is also an exercise on familiarization. We're doing some operations here, and then suddenly the alarm kicks in.
Need to remove the
Yeah, this was extremely well received. Go ahead, you can.
Yeah, I'll just show this bit when the alarm kicks in. So we are going around our operational day, we are checking some challenges.
I've inspected the seal, and this door should not be used for now.
Fire is detected on the lower deck. Please go to the muster stations.
So yeah, we can actually hear the alarm, we see the voice warning, and then what we do in the rest of this exercise, we're actually trying to find path to our locker room to get our safety suit on, and then, yeah, so people are already dressing up in their suits. This is around the living quarters, and then you finally find the suit, you make your way to the lifeboats, and you evacuate. So,
Yeah, and the great part about this is, you know, essentially it starts out kind of in one direction. You know, you're kind of first person, you're familiarizing with yourself with the station and kind of trying to accomplish an activity, and then suddenly it's like it's a story where literally you don't expect it, but all of a sudden there's an emergency and you got to evacuate. You know, people found it very, very engaging. I don't know if we want to go to the stats perhaps, but
Sure.
that might be. So yeah, this is you know, these last two projects particularly is where we took these results. You know, 93% of the people who did these found them user-friendly, easy to navigate. 85% you know, highly rated the course content. 85% praised the graphics, and 65% believe that the courses introduced a fresh, novel approach for them to learning.
yeah.
So very well received, and we continue to work with ENI.
Yep, thank you, Scott.